Africa has long been plagued by infrastructure deficits. From unreliable power grids to crumbling roads and inadequate industrial facilities, the continent's economic potential has often been restrained by the inability to build cost-efficient, scalable infrastructure. Countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Uganda have faced decades of power shortages, leading to frequent blackouts that cripple businesses, hospitals, and schools. These blackouts alone cost countries billions annually, reducing GDP and discouraging foreign investment. Take Zimbabwe, for example. Factories routinely shut down mid-shift because electricity is unavailable for 12 to 18 hours a day. Hospitals burn through expensive diesel just to keep essential equipment running. Roads and ports are insufficient, forcing imports to take longer and costlier routes through neighboring countries. For landlocked nations, the problem is even worse. Every ton of raw materials, fuel, minerals, or machinery must traverse hundreds of kilometers before reaching production centers, dramatically inflating costs. Historically, foreign companies have approached African infrastructure projects with high cost estimates. Western and Chinese firms often quote tens of billions for pipelines, refineries, or industrial complexes, adding their own imported labor, equipment, and management. These quotes rarely consider local expertise or supply chains. Most projects stall due to inflated budgets, bureaucratic hurdles, and corruption. While these proposals promise modern solutions, they often leave the money flowing out of Africa, rather than building local capacity. The key challenge is not just financial. African countries struggle with logistical constraints, inefficient governance, and political instability. Any infrastructure project must navigate these complex realities to succeed. This is where innovation, vision, and local execution become game changers. Africa needed a new model, one that leverages local expertise, reduces dependence on foreign contractors, and makes strategic use of existing resources. Enter Aliko Dangote and his team, whose approach has rewritten the playbook for infrastructure development on the continent. Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, has consistently applied a model of local empowerment combined with strategic investment. His largest projects, including the Lagos refinery, demonstrate that African engineers, contractors, and supply chains can outperform foreign firms while keeping costs a fraction of what Western and Chinese companies propose. Dangote's philosophy is simple but revolutionary: control the project locally, hire local talent, and reinvest capital into African economies. When building the Lagos refinery, initial quotes from Western and Chinese firms were prohibitive tens of billions and came with demands for ownership stakes. Instead, Dangote built it himself, utilizing African expertise, and completed the project at a fraction of the cost. This not only saved billions but created thousands of jobs and developed industrial skills on the continent. The same approach is now being applied to Southern Africa. 10 years ago, Dangote walked away from Zimbabwe due to bureaucratic corruption and excessive risks. Local officials demanded bribes, and international investors were unwilling to adapt to African realities. Fast forward to today, political changes, market conditions, and a growing local industrial base have created the perfect environment for large-scale investment. Dangote returned with a vision not just to build infrastructure, but to create a self-sustaining, interconnected industrial network across Southern Africa. The genius of his strategy lies in solving multiple challenges simultaneously: energy shortages, logistical constraints, industrial underdevelopment, and employment gaps. By focusing on African-led execution, Dangote has shown that it is possible to achieve $15 billion worth of infrastructure output for just $1 billion in actual investment. This approach is not charity, it is strategic. Africa's talent, when mobilized efficiently, can achieve results far beyond what foreign contractors promise. The combination of local expertise, political alignment, and strategic investment is the blueprint for the continent's industrial transformation. The centerpiece of this transformation is a $1 billion multi-sector deal, anchored by a 2,000-kilometer pipeline traversing Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. This project alone addresses critical energy shortages, reduces dependency on fragile supply chains, and unlocks industrial capacity for multiple landlocked countries. The pipeline is designed to transport fuel from coastal refineries directly into inland markets, bypassing costly transit routes through neighboring nations. By connecting key economic hubs, it ensures reliable access to energy for industries, hospitals, and residential communities. In addition, ancillary projects including cement factories, fertilizer plants, and power generation facilities enhance industrial output and local employment. The scale of impact is enormous. By leveraging local contractors, engineers, and supply chains, the cost of these projects is dramatically lower than conventional international estimates. Western or Chinese firms would have charged $10 to $15 billion for the same infrastructure. Dangote achieves this with a fraction of the capital, demonstrating a model that is not only cost-effective but scalable. Furthermore, the pipeline establishes a distribution network that extends beyond Zimbabwe, benefiting neighboring countries like Botswana, Zambia, and potentially Malawi. This creates regional energy security and gives Africa strategic control over critical infrastructure. It's a game-changing model where African ingenuity, rather than foreign control, determines market dynamics and economic growth. This deal also introduces employment opportunities on a massive scale. Thousands of jobs are created during construction, and tens of thousands more in operations, supply chains, and industrial facilities. Economic activity expands, tax revenues increase, and political stability is reinforced. The ripple effect extends to education, healthcare, and social services, laying the groundwork for long-term development. Dangote's approach in Zimbabwe is more than just a single project. It represents a new paradigm for African development. Traditionally, large-scale infrastructure projects in Africa relied heavily on foreign investors, contractors, and multinational corporations. While these entities brought technical expertise and capital, they often imposed high costs, imported labor, and retained a significant portion of profits outside the continent. This model created a cycle of dependency. Africa had the resources but lacked control over its own industrial and economic future. The African-led model breaks this cycle by leveraging local talent, supply chains, and industrial capacity. By employing African engineers, contractors, and service providers, the continent keeps a larger share of the economic value generated within its borders. This is not merely a theoretical benefit. For instance, in Zimbabwe, the local workforce involved in the pipeline and associated industrial projects can expect tens of thousands of direct jobs. Ancillary employment, including logistics, maintenance, administration, and supply chain services, multiplies this number further. The social impact alone, reducing unemployment, providing stable income, and improving skills, is transformative for communities long neglected in global economic plans. Moreover, African-led infrastructure projects enhance political and economic sovereignty. When Western or Chinese companies lead development projects, African nations are often dependent on foreign decision-making for timelines, costs, and operational priorities. Delays, price hikes, and political leverage can undermine national interests. Dangote's approach mitigates these risks. African stakeholders retain control over implementation, resource allocation, and operational oversight. This sovereignty translates into long-term strategic advantages. Countries can plan industrial growth, energy distribution, and trade policies without being constrained by external actors who prioritize profit or geopolitical influence over local development. The ripple effects extend regionally. The Zimbabwe pipeline connects not just one country, but a network of southern African nations: Botswana, Zambia, and potentially Malawi. This creates a regional distribution system that stabilizes energy supply, reduces reliance on expensive imports, and fosters economic integration. By establishing such interconnected infrastructure, African nations can negotiate from a position of strength in regional trade agreements. They are no longer passive recipients of foreign capital. They become active shapers of their economic destiny. A critical component of this model is cost efficiency. Dangote demonstrates that Africa can achieve $15 billion worth of infrastructure output for just $1 billion in investment. How is this possible? First, by eliminating expensive foreign intermediaries, the project reduces overhead. Second, local procurement from materials to labor keeps capital circulating within the continent. Third, African engineers and contractors, when properly supported, are equally capable of delivering high-quality work as their international counterparts. Finally, the projects are designed with local conditions in mind, avoiding costly delays or modifications required by foreign entities unfamiliar with African realities. Beyond Zimbabwe, this model is replicable across the continent. Consider landlocked countries such as Zambia, Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, Chad, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Each faces similar logistical and infrastructural challenges. Coastal nations can host refineries and industrial hubs, while pipelines and transport networks connect inland nations to energy, cement, and fertilizer resources. By replicating the African-led model, these countries can dramatically reduce construction costs, foster industrial skills, and create sustainable employment. The model also addresses long-term strategic economic planning. Africa's rapid urbanization and growing population require scalable infrastructure solutions. By building pipelines, refineries, and industrial hubs today, countries can meet tomorrow's energy, manufacturing, and transportation needs. Dangote's strategy mirrors the vision of multinational corporations like Amazon or Tesla, which anticipate demand and build capacity before markets mature. In Zimbabwe, the pipeline and supporting infrastructure act as a preemptive economic stimulus, enabling industry, mining, and agriculture to thrive without waiting for external investment. African-led infrastructure also empowers local economies to capture value-added processes. Instead of exporting raw materials for minimal profit, countries can process resources domestically, refining oil, producing cement and fertilizer, and generating electricity for industrial use. This adds layers of economic activity, increases GDP, and creates markets for local entrepreneurs. In effect, Africa transforms from a raw materials supplier into a regional industrial powerhouse. Political implications are equally significant. Infrastructure projects of this scale require collaboration between governments, private sector actors, and local communities. By involving domestic stakeholders, Dangote's model encourages transparency, accountability, and inclusive development. While there is always risk such as monopolistic control or political interference, the framework allows countries to retain agency and negotiate equitable terms, unlike many foreign-led projects where the host nation has limited bargaining power. The African-led approach also challenges geopolitical dynamics. Historically, Western and Chinese companies have dominated large infrastructure projects across Africa, gaining not just profits but political influence. By successfully executing $15 billion worth of projects at $1 billion cost, Africa demonstrates that it can build independently, reducing external leverage and shifting the balance of power. This has implications for regional trade, energy policy, and international negotiations, positioning Africa as a self-reliant, economically assertive continent. Socially, these projects stimulate development in education, healthcare, and urban planning. For instance, reliable energy enables hospitals to operate efficiently, factories to maintain production, and schools to run without disruption. Communities along the pipeline corridor benefit from roads, power access, and industrial jobs, improving living standards and reducing migration pressures toward urban centers. Finally, the model encourages innovation and entrepreneurship. When African nations prove they can deliver world-class infrastructure affordably, investors both domestic and international are more likely to fund complementary projects. Entrepreneurs can start businesses that rely on reliable energy, transportation, and industrial inputs, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of economic growth. In conclusion, Dangote's African-led infrastructure model is not just about pipelines, cement, or fertilizer plants. It is a strategic, replicable framework for transforming the continent. It addresses economic dependency, builds local expertise, fosters regional integration, creates employment, and empowers African nations to define their own development trajectory. If scaled and replicated across Southern, Central, and West Africa, this approach could reshape the economic and geopolitical landscape of the continent, proving that Africa can solve its own problems at African prices, with African talent and African vision. This is the blueprint for the next phase of African industrialization, a model that prioritizes self-sufficiency, sustainability, and long-term prosperity. The real question now is, how many African nations will embrace it, and how quickly can they replicate this success?